oatmeal is one of the worst foods that you can put in your body.
Basically, your morning oatmeal is robbing you of nutrients.
If you're looking to gain fat, then eating oatmeal every day is a great idea.
Most people think of oatmeal as a healthy breakfast food, but there are benefits and drawbacks to every food choice that you make. Will oatmeal help you lose body fat, or is it going to spike your blood sugar and suck all the nutrients out of your system? If you've been here before, you know that I don't enjoy fear-mongering when it comes to food. As usual, I'm going to take a fairly balanced approach to this, make sure that I hit all the things that you might be thinking about in terms of pros and cons of oatmeal. I am going to talk about a common mistake that many people make with oatmeal and how to fix it.
Oatmeal is peasant food. It's what they would feed the peasants.
The whole idea of oatmeal being peasant food is a little bit ridiculous and very snobby. And there are a few foods that used to be considered peasant foods, like lobster and caviar, that are now some of the most expensive and exotic foods that you can buy. Not to mention bread, which with water is pretty much considered very basic sustenance. But every time I go to a fancy restaurant, they always serve bread, fresh, delicious bread.
Our ancestors did not eat oatmeal, neither should you.
We've been consuming oatmeal for about 30,000 years. In any case, I always get a bit weary when people start to talk about our ancestors and what they did and didn't do. 10,000 years ago, you were lucky to make it to 30. You didn't have that flushing toilet, and you certainly wouldn't be spending your time watching nutritional misinformation on your phone.
Oatmeal is making people fat.
If fat loss is your goal, you're looking for lower calories, higher fiber, higher protein. Oatmeal is high in fiber, which is thermogenic. Because it takes more work for your body to break down the fiber, your body expends more energy, calories if you will. And if you happen to be concerned about your health, higher intake of fiber is associated with a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, colon cancer, and may improve insulin sensitivity. It's great for your digestive health as well. Beta-glucans, the soluble fibers that are found in oatmeal, have been shown to reduce cholesterol levels and the risk of heart disease. A lot of people do add oats as a way of reducing their cholesterol levels, and the evidence is fairly sound that it can help you with that. Now, when it comes to fiber, the general recommendation is about 38 grams for men and 25 grams for women. Most people are only getting about 15 to 20 grams per day. So not enough. Remember to increase your fiber intake gradually, because if you go from 15 grams of fiber to 35 grams of fiber, you're going to experience a lot of gas and bloating and general discomfort. So do it gradually over time and make sure you're drinking enough water to get that fiber through your system. Oatmeal also offers high levels of many vitamins and minerals, particularly manganese, phosphorus, I'm going to talk about why that's important, copper, B vitamins, iron, selenium, magnesium, and zinc.
Oats are full of phytic acid, a compound that chelates, that bites onto minerals.
Is oatmeal going to suck all the minerals out of your body because it has phytates? Let me explain. Phytic acid, or phytates, are the stored form of phosphorus, which I mentioned earlier as something that oatmeal contains. And they're found in nuts, seeds, and unprocessed grains. Now, they are considered an anti-nutrient because they block the absorption of some nutrients, minerals. But it's important to know that anti-nutrients are found in animal foods and lots of plant foods. Phytates can be reduced, removed, or deactivated by boiling, soaking, or cooking the food before eating it. Now, most of us aren't eating oatmeal by pouring dry oats down our throats. You're going to be cooking it, and that's going to deactivate some of those phytates.
Oatmeal sucks minerals out of your body because it's high in phytic acid.
There was a study where they showed no negative effects on nutrient absorption with oat bran. And oat bran actually has more phytates than oatmeal. So it doesn't seem like you have to worry about oatmeal sucking the nutrients out of your body. In fact, it's going to add valuable nutrients that you might be missing. There was some flatulence for the first few weeks as the body adapted to the intake, so keep that in mind as well if you start to eat oatmeal and you experience some digestive issues. That may resolve itself. A lot of people mention gluten when it comes to oatmeal. Oatmeal doesn't naturally contain gluten, but it does have a similar protein within it. But oats are sometimes contaminated with gluten-containing grains like wheat, rye, and barley at the farm, in storage, and during transportation. Gluten is a protein that's found in grains. People with celiac disease, which is probably about 1% of the population, have an immune reaction to gluten. And there are some people who may be gluten sensitive or have an allergic reaction to wheat. So if you have a clear response to gluten, like bloating, cramps, or diarrhea, then obviously you want to avoid it as well. But as I said, oats don't naturally contain gluten, so it is possible to buy gluten-free oatmeal if you want to have oatmeal, but you do have these gluten issues. Now for everyone else, and this is probably about 99% of people, there is no evidence that a gluten-free diet is beneficial. There's no reason that you need to avoid gluten if you don't have the issues that I talked about. Now, oatmeal does contain FODMAPs, and these are particular sugars that can be hard on the digestion of susceptible people. So people with IBS, like myself, oatmeal contains oligosaccharides, which is the O in FODMAPs, and it has something called GOS or GOS and fructans. But even for people following a low FODMAP diet, there is still a safe serving of rolled oats, which would be about a 1/4 cup. And for quick oats or instant oats, it's a 1/4 cup. So even with the low FODMAP diet, you can still safely have a certain amount of oatmeal. And again, there's nothing wrong with these FODMAPs for other people. If you don't have those conditions, then there's no reason to believe that a FODMAP diet is going to help you. I have IBS and I tried it and it didn't give me relief from my symptoms. And for people who don't have any digestive issues, there's no reason to follow this diet either. But if oatmeal causes you a digestive issue, don't eat it. Same goes for any food, really. That doesn't mean it's bad for everyone else.
It spikes your blood sugar more than ice cream.
This is sort of another boogeyman when it comes to fat loss, spiking blood sugar. Everybody's very afraid of their blood sugar going up and then, oh my God, I'm storing fat. But that's not actually how it works. Your blood sugar rises in response to eating. It's whether it stays elevated longer afterwards or it gets excessively high over time that's important. Rolled oats, which are the slightly less processed version, they're generally bigger than the quick instant oats, have a GI of about 55. Ice cream has a GI of 51, so slightly lower, but still considered low GI. Now, instant oats do have a higher GI, it's about 79. But how useful is the glycemic index really anyway? We don't tend to consume foods individually. Even these things that people get panicked about, potatoes, bread, that might have higher glycemic indexes. You modify the blood sugar response of a food by combining it with other things. So even if something was extremely high on the glycemic index, if you had it with protein and fat, it wouldn't affect your blood sugar as much as just having that food individually. There's also a common misconception that if your insulin levels are elevated, you can't lose fat. And this is absolutely not true. In fact, you could have carbs and sugar all day long, but if your calorie intake is relatively low, you're still going to lose fat. For fat loss, keeping yourself in a calorie deficit is what matters. But if you do experience greater fluctuations in your blood sugar levels, it may trigger your appetite to increase. And that's where you can run into a problem. You'll want more food, you'll take in more calories, you'll put on more fat. So it's still a worthwhile strategy to minimize massive blood sugar fluctuations throughout the day because of how they affect your behavior and what you're going to eat as a result. Appetite management is a big part of fat loss. If you can manage your appetite and not be starving, hungry, or craving things all the time, then you're gonna have a much easier time losing weight. Sounds kind of silly to say it that way because it's so obvious, but that's often the difference between people who are lean naturally and people who have to work a lot harder. They have a natural higher appetite, but you've got to work with what you've got and manage it the best you can.
Horrible breakfast.
I do recommend having a good source of protein, depending on your protein goal for the day, at least like 25 grams of protein in the morning. This helps you hit your protein goal for the day, and it can help manage your appetite. Most people do find that if they have protein early on in the day, they tend to eat a little bit less later on. So oatmeal alone might not be the best choice, but don't worry, I have a solution for you. So I've prepared 3 kinds of oatmeal so you can see what they look like, and we're gonna go through the nutritional information. I've prepared a 1/2 cup serving of each of these, and I've put in a 1/2 cup of milk as well. A 1/2 cup serving is 140 calories, and there's 4 grams of protein. In this one, there's only 1 gram of sugar. The steel cut oats have exactly the same nutritional value as the rolled oats, but they look a bit different. Now the last one is instant oatmeal, and this one has added sugar. This is actually a favorite of mine from my childhood, and last week I had a bit of a craving for it, so I actually bought it just for that. This is the one with the maple and brown sugar. This one has 160 calories, so it's a little bit more, and that's basically from the added sugar because there's 13 grams of sugar. The protein remains the same because there's nothing else there. So yes, there's sugar in here, but this is really delicious. So it's a bit of a treat. It's not that many calories, so it's not a huge thing to be concerned about. Oatmeal alone isn't a great source of protein. You saw there was only about 4 grams for a 1/2 cup serving, but I did put in some milk, and this is a higher protein milk that I use. This is a 1%. There's 100 calories here and 14 grams of protein. So each of these bowls is actually 18 grams of protein. And I'm not finished yet. I have this 0% Greek yogurt for a 3/4 cup serving. It's got 17 grams of protein. So we already had 18 grams with the milk and the oatmeal, and now we've got 17 more grams of protein. So you've got 35 grams. And now it's a balanced breakfast with plenty of protein. All of this adds to more protein that keeps you satisfied, makes you eat a little bit less later on in the day, and that's likely to help you with fat loss because you're going to consume fewer calories overall and you're consuming more protein and fiber, which is really helpful for fat loss. Many people are particularly concerned with belly fat, and you can find out everything you need to know about getting rid of belly fat here.